We're now here and it is time for the Q&A. I did ask you guys on Instagram and on YouTube to send me some questions and I got a lot of them. I think it's over 60 questions that I'm gonna answer and hopefully you will enjoy it. I've already read some of them, but not all of them, and they look pretty damn interesting, so let's get into it. First one, how can you eat so clean while being so young? How do you avoid alcohol, girls and parties? Let's start with alcohol and parties. I think that has a lot to do with dopamine and how you feel. Me personally, I did go to some parties when I was way younger just to try it out, and it wasn't really my thing. But the reason I went was because, you know, to feel joy, be with friends, and, you know, have a good time. But as I moved on, started to get better with training, routines, everything, I found dopamine and enjoyment in other things. So I didn't really have to seek enjoyment in parties or alcohol or anything for that matter. And then also when I got more into the competition style and being an athlete, alcohol obviously isn't the best thing for you. So it was just, I had good reasons to avoid it. And I think that's just why I continued doing so. And like I said, I find dopamine in other areas like training, so I don't really need it. When it comes to girls, I think that's more of a focus question. I was in a relationship 2.5 years ago, and since then I've been dating, meeting some girls as well, but I haven't had a focus on, you know, finding or being in a relationship. I don't know, I think it's more about focus. Like right now I don't really feel like I'm searching for anyone, but of course if the opportunity is there, I might date someone. But it requires a lot to be, you know, in a relationship, and I just don't feel like I'm there yet. I have other things I rather want to focus on. I hope that answered it. Next one, ever considered coaching in calisthenics? To some degree. I was a live coach at the gym. I did handstand courses live and also muscle up training, and I enjoyed that a lot. But doing more coaching as a full-time thing, maybe. I'm not gonna say yes or no on that one because things might change. At the moment I prefer doing other things with my time. I think it's more about time and time consuming. So now I focus on content creating and building programs and a bit other things. But at some point I might do coaching. But if I were to do it, I think it would be more towards having a few people that I would coach and not having a lot of people. So I'd rather have a few ones that I really can put my time in. Next question. What's your weakest skill? I would say Hephaesto. I haven't trained it a lot. I did it back in the days, did some attempts, but I was slow in progress with it. And at the time, I only trained the things I enjoyed and that I was good at. So I sort of left it on the side. Haven't trained it a lot since then either. So definitely Hephaesto is my weakest. Next one is pretty interesting. More about training. To build muscle, do you train weighted calisthenics? Because with skills, it's hard to build muscle. Let's talk a little bit about it. Muscles, I don't know if it's considering size here or if it's just strength. Because in my opinion, building strength, that's one thing, and you get extremely strong from doing skill training. Like when I'm doing planche training, even if a lot of statics, it's a lot of, you know, short holds, high intensity, and that is building strength. But I'm not gonna look like a bodybuilding just doing, you know, planche leans and stuff. So I think building strength, yes, from statics and skill training. But if I want to build size, increase my reps a little, I would definitely add weight training. So that's why I do weighted pull-ups, weighted dips as well, because that builds a bit more volume and it's also fun training. You know, you get some pump, you feel good. Next one. Does your joints and tendons and fingers and stuff hurt? Do you ever have any pain somewhere? This one is also, when I say pain, I've been lucky, or maybe I've just trained in the right way. But I haven't had pain that is, you know, lasting for more than a week or, you know, roughly 1 week. But of course, sometimes I feel a bit extra pressure. I feel the wrists, they are definitely targeted a lot, especially in planche training. If I'm doing something on floor, I feel like my wrists are taking a lot of damage because doing it on floor, it's almost always 90-degree angle, and that takes a lot. So yes, on floor, I do feel a little bit of pain. And in freestyle as well, that can be sometimes if I'm sloppy with warm-up or if I've trained a bit too much and I haven't had time to rest, I can feel some pain. But in general, when I started training, I expected to have a bit more pain than I actually have. I also think it's a combination of me training right and trying not to overtrain, because I think that's the key point. If my body is tired, I'm gonna be sloppy with what I'm doing and probably use muscles and putting a lot of pressure on things that I don't wanna put pressure on. A question I think a lot of people ask, it's gonna be really hard to answer or give a strict answer to. How long it take you to unlock planche? Well, for me, it took roughly 2 years. But if this question is about how long it would take someone to unlock, it really depends on everything. I had a great foundation. I was a swimmer back in the days, and I had done some, like 1.5 years roughly of gym training. And when I was young, I also hated to train legs. So I had a pretty, V-shaped body. So good start when it came to training calisthenics. So for me it took 2 years, but roughly I would say expect a few years if you want to have a solid planche, depending on of course where you are, but it takes time. All right, next one. You watch anime. I did watch one, I think. I don't even know the name of it, but it was because everyone told me I had to watch it if I want to become a great calisthenics athlete, so I gave it a try. Baki, it was called. But I did watch that one, but no more. I don't know, it just wasn't my thing. At the moment, I'm not watching too much movies or series either way, so that might be a cause. But if I'm losing progress or I feel like I'm not getting progress, I might start watching anime again, because I know a lot of high performance athletes are doing it. Next one. Is it a struggle to be a calisthenics athlete as a 6-footer? I'm thinking that's having 6 feet, and that would probably be pretty hard, considering the weight is, at the end of your legs. Joke aside, I guess you're from USA or where this is. I don't know, I guess 6 foot is pretty tall. I'm 184 centimeters, and let's just assume this is roughly, or a tall person at least. I would say it's harder to do some skills. Planche, front lever, everything like that is about leverage. But calisthenics, that's also, if you're talking about reps or freestyle, I think size isn't as important. Like if you're doing 1 rep max and things, I think it's almost just beneficial to be a bit bigger, because the percentage in weight is gonna be less. But for skill training like planche and front lever, it's gonna be a bit harder, but still extremely doable. Right, who's your favorite calisthenics athlete? Oof. I have a few ones. They are in different sectors. I have the one that inspired me to start. That was Daniel License. I saw him do straight bar, planche, press up to handstand, and at that point I was sold, so I started with this sport. Then he wasn't too active during a few years, and at that point I started to learn or meet, for example, Daniel Christov, and he became also a inspiration. Extremely high performance in what he does. I still feel like he's one of the unbeatable people because he's just so all-rounded. Then I have a team with me as well. I have Daniel Fleerfield. He helps me to set everything up with YouTube. He taught me also a lot about training, still does. He might not be the best person in calisthenics, but he has more years than me in knowledge, and that to some degree is worth way more. Like you can look at these professional football players and everything, they will have a coach that most likely do not look like an athlete. Now, they might even have some stomach, but they have knowledge, and that's the key point. So he taught me a lot as well. Not an athlete, but he got a lot of brain. Next one is a quick question. How many pull-ups can you do without any extra weight? I think it's about 30 pull-ups. My strong side isn't to do a lot of reps. I'm more of a 1 rep max person, but if I'm just maxing out, I think it's around 30 pull-ups. Not something I really care about if I increase or not, so my focus is not to get stronger in pull-ups reps. All right, how many years have you been training calisthenics? When did you start? I've been training now for 6 years in time, and I'm 21 years old now, so I was 15 years old. I did start a little bit before that with just handstand training and not taking it too serious, just literally me wanting to learn handstand and pull-ups and stuff. So I trained that. But 6 years of knowing what the sport actually was and pursuing my training and adapting to that. So roughly 6 years. All right, here's a bit longer one. I'm a pretty lean guy. My goal is to gain muscle and a lot of it. Lol. Is it possible with calisthenics alone? And this is back to mass, because when people usually start training, especially me as well, is because you want to look a certain way. Not to brag, but I might be a living example of that it's possible to build a physique as well. And I've been focusing mainly on statics training and skills in general. And of course I've been adding some weight training and stuff like that, or weighted dips and weighted pull-ups. But if you want to get huge in calisthenics, just look at some of these people that train for reps and stuff. They look absolutely massive. So it's definitely possible. If you have a pull-up bar, that's basically all you need to do pull-ups, muscle-ups, straight bar dips, and then you have the floor. You can do squats or whatever. So it doesn't have to be too complicated either. So definitely possible to get huge. And I think this type of training is also extremely enjoyable. Like when I started going to the gym just to get size or get, you know, huge in that preference, it sort of it wasn't that fun after a while. Like after me going to the gym for 1 year, doing pretty much the same exercises, just increasing a little, I started to get a bit bored. That's also one of the reasons why I started to switch to calisthenics, because I feel more enjoyment in doing things with my body. I can do it wherever I want, whenever I want, and of course with skill training it looks fucking sick as well. So that was one of the reasons I changed. But you can definitely get huge. Do you do much cardio? Not too much during periods, and some periods I do train cardio. I'm starting to train it a little bit more now because I have a competition coming up. Of course cardio is great for you. When I do static training and things, it's such a short time that I train, so I don't really train my heart that much. And in competition, it is only 2 minutes usually, the rounds. Even in battles, it's 45 seconds. But that is still way more than what I'm used to training. So for me, it's pretty crucial to add some sort of cardio training before competition at least. And then during summer, I live in Sweden now, so in the winter, it's really cold to run outside. It's hard on your throat, but during summer I do really enjoy running outside, and that's not necessarily because I have competition or anything. It's just I enjoy it, and no, it's always good as well to train a little bit of everything. So I run in the summer, and during winter I'm in the gym grinding, no cardio, just building muscles. Right. What do you think about bodybuilding influencers? Ooh. I didn't read that one before, so I have no time to prepare, that I haven't had for any questions. So, like bodybuilding in general, I think is pretty damn sick. And also, to get a certain physique, it takes insane amount of discipline and consistency. But there's one thing I don't really like about it, and that is the extremeness. Like right before competition, the dieting, and when they are in competition form, it is not really healthy. And of course it's gonna be like that in all fitness sectors. Like for me as well, before competition I also try to shred down a little. The problem though occurs when you see these huge people and you have young people looking up to them and thinking this is what they always look like. Because some people don't really tell why they look a certain way, or oh, it's competition now, but then I will be off season. So if you have someone that doesn't understand and they think this is the physique you will reach, that is going to be pretty unhealthy if you don't have the knowledge. And I think that's only the disadvantage. I don't know. But otherwise, I think bodybuilding is pretty damn cool as well. And a healthy lifestyle if you do it to a certain degree. How much push-ups can I do in a row? Body weight. I'm guessing someone is asking this because they want to know how far away from my strength they are. Maybe. I think over 100. I never maxed out, but I think around 100. I'm pretty strong in chest, and especially since I train a lot of like planche push-ups and things, I have a lot of strength in this position. So I think roughly 100. Which exercises you do for legs? This should be in not be in plural. I don't do too much legs. I do the running part during my seasons, and besides of that, not too much legs. I don't know if I have another question about this, but we can talk about legs either way now, because it's a big subject in this sport and a lot of people have questions about it. I don't train legs, and it's for two main reasons. One is the obvious one, that is, if I have too big legs, a lot of things are gonna be harder, because you don't want to have any extra weight that is not helping you to perform a planche, front lever, or whatever it may be. And in freestyle as well, it's just unnecessary weight. That's the number one. The other thing is when it comes to scheduling. Like for me to add leg training, I have to put that in the schedule at some point. And it could be doable to just do a few exercises after each normal gym session still, but then the sessions would be extremely long. So the point is that if I were to add legs as well, I would have to cut out some of my other training, and also it takes a lot of energy. Most people that I have trained legs back in days, but it takes a lot of energy to train legs as well. It's big muscles. So the other part is adding it in the schedule is gonna take away some energy and time consuming from other things that are prioritized. So that's probably the main two reasons. And of course, you have to sacrifice a little bit. Of course, I'm not looking as symmetrical as I probably could, but the thing is that I don't really care. Like, my focus is to get extremely good in sports and in what I'm doing. So I don't care about other things. I just gotta make sure I buy loose fit clothes, and that solves it. Measurements of your body, bicep, legs, etc. I'm actually gonna do a longer version video where I measure probably all the muscles on my body. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe, because I will post that video as well. Hardest static move that took you the longest to achieve? Oh, I'm guessing that's a skill that I have learned. Otherwise I would say Hefesto, because I still haven't got it. But the longest one, I think Maltese.
That's a fucking lie. Took you 1.5 months.
Yes, when I started to train it.
Fucking hell.
And that's also hard. Like, yeah, Maltese, it took me short time when I started to train it. But at the same time, when I started to train it, I had trained Planche for 3 years. So I had extremely strong core, shoulder strength as well. So I don't know, it's hard to measure, but otherwise, of course, Planche, I think, in general, was the one that took the longest, because that one I started from scratch. All right, next up. Do you think working out to get a fit body just to get girls or a girlfriend is a right decision? Well, I don't think long-term it's gonna be sustainable, because it might be for a short time when you start, like, that might wanna look fit, but if you want to do it for a long time, you gotta be more personal. Like, it's gonna be for you, like for yourself. I feel like that changed a lot for me as well. I did start training because I wanted people to look at me a certain way. After some time, you just gotta realize that I do this because I enjoy it, because I want to look myself in the mirror and feel good. And that's gonna reflect on other people as well. The more and more I train, I also understand that other guys, they're gonna come up to you and say like,
"Damn bro, you look huge."
But girls are not gonna do like that. But the thing they will also notice is more your work ethics. There we have it. So if you're training consistently, you get a certain body, you're also gonna get a certain mindset. And all of this together is gonna be reflected on everything else. And people in your surrounding is gonna notice that. And I think that's more about it. So, you know, girls, I think that's more a side effect of you actually going after what you want. So I wouldn't say this is enough motivation or enough reason, there we have it, to go to the gym. Maybe for a month or something, but then you're gonna find something else. Do you have any other time-intensive hobbies except calisthenics? Well, I study full-time mechanical engineering, done that for 3 years. That takes a lot of time. Probably the one I spend the most time on, which is, I don't know. When I started, I enjoyed it, but the more time went, I understand that my focus, I rather want to be within the fitness sector, help people. You know, this is where I feel good. I don't see myself being a civil engineer sitting with papers. Even if I enjoy mechanics, that's not really my thing. So that's where I spend a lot of time. The other thing that I do really enjoy and spend a lot of time on, that's sort of it was a hobby but turned into a side hustle, is mechanics or mechanical repairs. So I've been buying motorcycles, ATVs, quads, and doing repairs, paint job, and then I sell them. So I've been doing that as a side hustle for like 2 years. And that's also time consuming to some degree, but I love it. Last summer, I think I had about 5 projects, and I could be in the garage literally the whole day, and I forget to eat, I forget to go to the toilet, I forget everything because I enjoy that so much. I just worked, and that is crazy. That's the same thing sometimes when I get a content idea or have something that I really want to do. I forget about everything else and I 100% focus on that thing. And that's good. So I definitely know that I'm gonna spend more time in the garage in the future as well, because that's where I love to be, and in front of the camera. I also enjoy that a lot. Next up is more towards the ring training that I've been doing for the last month, that you've been following my journey on. And the question is, are the ring workouts actually helping you and how you know that you have progressed after a certain time? That's a good question. I haven't done a max test or haven't measured my strength after, but one thing I know, and one thing that you've been following me on, is the progressive overload. So when I started the ring workout, I could hold the full planche with a certain resistance band for a certain amount of time. And that's the foundation. And that was hard in the beginning. In the end of this series, I could hold it for a longer time, and we have had this progressive overload where I changed the rings height as well. I know that I have increased my strength in the rings. And I also have this hierarchy where the rings are at the top. And if I can do rings, that strength is going to transfer to my floor game and on P-bars and on strength bar. So, because it's literally involving everything. But of course, I can't be certain, but I'm gonna do some measurements or, you know, do planche holds and things to feel if I'm actually getting stronger. But the general feeling as well is that my trainings after this has been really good. And normal planche feels way better, core connection, shoulders as well, because in the rings it's so much about stabilizing. And what that gives me is when I enter the planche, I have a way more, or it's easier for me to change my body into the right position because I have a bit more, you know, leverage or control. But it's a good question. Sometimes it's hard to measure. Sometimes you need to rest as well before you measure. One problem is if I train really hard for a long period of time, like I can't measure my strength after that period because I've been literally killing my body for a few weeks. So I need to have sort of a deload, and then I need to do a few days where I get back on track, and then I can do my maximum or feel where the progress is. So I need to rest before I can actually see my full potential. All right, that was the final one for part 1. I will actually split this Q&A into 2 parts because there were so many questions, so we would go on forever if it was just one video. So this part will come out first, and then there will be part 2, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see that one too.